Unfortunately, I think private equity is coming for law firms, and there's a lot of reasons that you should care. So I'll talk about what the rules say in most states who has to have ownership interests in law firms. You cannot share fees with non-lawyers. There's ethical rules that prevent that. So the owners of law firms have to be attorneys. So the purpose of the rules is to make sure that the decisions that affect the firm's behavior are governed by the rules of ethics that also cause attorneys to owe duties of loyalty towards the clients. Even if you have lawyers doing the actual work and the attorneys are being managed by non-lawyers and the financial interest is all about the bottom line, then the client's care becomes a product and not the point. Well, we all knew it was coming. There's some states, particularly Arizona and Utah, kind of led the charge. In closed doors, some law firms are becoming beholden to private equity anyway. Either private equity is buying them or there's private equity that is lending them money. One of the hopes in both them creating this process in Arizona and Utah was this idea that lawyers collecting the money at the end was somehow creating an obstacle to access for justice to certain groups. So there aren't a lot of lawyers that are out there pushing over each other in order to represent tenants in landlord-tenant law. Because typically tenants in landlord-tenant law are not paying rent, mostly because, and again, in general, there's exceptions, because they don't have the money to afford their rent. And they're being evicted because they aren't paying the rent. There's not a lot of lawyers who are willing to represent debtors in collection cases, the people that can't afford their credit card bills. Again, generalizing, but for the most part, there is inability for those particular groups of clients to find lawyers to represent them because the lawyers can't make money doing that. And so the hope was, let's get these corporations to come in here and maybe they'll find a way to represent clients like that. It's a noble ambition to have access to justice for more people. I mean, it can go the other way too. I was at a conference a year and a half ago, and it was about the amount we charge. We charge 33% and 40% if it goes into litigation, which is almost standard across the industry. And there was a group saying, well, you can start at 40% and go up to 50 and 55% when it goes to court and to trial, and the clients will still pay that much. And I'm going, yeah, but we don't need it. Why would we charge more just because we can? That would be just taking money out of our client's pocket and put it in ours. And if you needed to on a certain case, that makes sense. On the other hand, they could reduce the prices to the point where clients are going to go, 20% sounds so much better, or 15%, but they don't realize in order to make money by charging that amount, they have to reduce somewhere. The quality of care will go down. In the short run, prices might go down. That's obviously a great thing for the client until they realize what they're paying for. So ultimately, the goal is let's have the attorneys be the ones who are deciding, because they are the ones that have their license on the line, the ability to work in the future in order to follow the ethical rules that say protect the clients first. Again, I think that ultimately when private equity is involved, no matter how noble or good intentioned the lawyer is at the beginning of this, ultimately the real bottom line is going to be shareholder value and no longer be the client's best interest. As far as private equity goes, it's easy to see what the model is going to look like if they become majority owners of law firms, and you only have to look to the healthcare industry, where you go into the doctor's offices now, and the doctors are still making the decisions. They're still the ones that are talking to you. But in the background, how fast are you getting these things through? How many clients did you see? Did you spend a lot of money on that client? Did you make some money from that client? That's what's all happening. And the question they're not asking is, are the clients getting better? And by clients, I mean patients in that context. But those are the same kinds of questions I want to always be asking, which is, are we doing right by our clients? Are we doing the best value for them? Are we willing to step away when we're not adding value in some way? And as long as I'm here, private equity is not going to be part of our firm. Even if officially The lawyer is the one making the decisions and ethically has their license on the line. It's like, well, yeah, but if you could be fired because you're not making enough money, then in the end, they'll find a lawyer who's willing to be a little looser with their ethical obligations in order to have a job. One of the concerns we've had is there are firms from outside Seattle that are here and they're advertising, and not all of them are bad. Some of them are actually very good firms that do good work for clients. A percentage of them, and it's not most, but some, that are mostly concerned with, let's just get volume and kind of be greedy. I mean, for lack of a better word. And that was a concern before anything that we were dealing with for private equity. It's just like, there's nothing that says that lawyers can't be just as greedy as corporations, because lawyers can be greedy. But at least you had this duty to the client that prevents you from going too far, because you can simply be disbarred and that would chain to wherever they're coming from. And so there was that barrier still. The idea of innovation and doing things differently is actually beneficial. I think it just needs to be done under the halo of you have to ultimately owe that ethical duty to a client. And I think there is a place, I think our firm is an example of, there is room for a merge of business ideals and doing things in a creative way, but never forgetting that ultimately the goal is to do what's right for the client on an individual case. When they tried to buy the advocates, and I get probably 2 to 3 phone calls a week saying, are you interested? It was an easy no. And one of the reasons is the clients, because I would be helping to cause that erosion of client trust. And the other is a little bit more selfish, which is I love the people I work with. And I would be putting the attorneys and the staff here in a place where they are helping someone who is not authorized to practice law make money off of our clients, which would be putting them in a place where they're at odds with the ethics in the state of Washington. And so I couldn't do that to our people. But even if they changed those ethical rules, there is no way I would put our clients through that. I wish I could say it's not inevitable. I think that what has happened in the medical industry is coming to the legal industry. And people should know that as long as Ken and Donnie are here, there is no corporate interest. There is no separate owners besides the law firm owners that we have.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, I could keep going forever on this. This is a big deal.